So wait, you're African and you're in America. Are you African American?
Sure.
Hello, you beautiful nerds. You guys remember when I reviewed that Charlize Theron movie a little while back? Even though I enjoyed it, I remember thinking, I don't really love this movie. I liked it, but it didn't grab me. Then my overactive sativa brain couldn't get unfixated on a movie I personally think is underrated. I realize this movie has some problems, and I'm willing to admit those, but I still think that this movie is way better than people give it credit for. I mean, look at that. That's fucking disrespectful. And seeing how it's a comic book movie, it's absolutely normal and totally makes sense for me to talk about this movie that's 3 years old. It's not weird at all. I'm not being weird. You're being weird. So pour a drink, light a joint, sip some tea, whatever, bro. Just relax. This is gonna be fun, because we're gonna chat about She's a Killer Queen. But first, a prelude. In the year of our Lord 2014, legendary directors Chad Stahelski and David Leitch helmed their first film together. You may have heard of it. They both directed the movie, but Chad is the only one that got credit because the Directors Guild has weird, antiquated rules. Anyway, while Chad went on to direct the next 2 installments of the John Wick franchise, David's next project was Atomic Blonde. When I heard this, I was pretty excited because John Wick 2 and Atomic Blonde both came out in 2017. So this was an opportunity to see who was the better director. Now, I'm sure everyone has their favorite, but after seeing this and Deadpool 2, I definitely prefer David's directing. Dude even knows what makes the Fast and Furious movies so amazing, because Hobbs and Shaw does not look like his other movies. But let's talk about everything that makes David's first solo outing so fucking sick. Atomic Blonde is based on the 2012 graphic novel The Coldest City, written by British author Anthony Johnston. Anthony Johnston? The movie follows British spy Lorraine Broughton as she tries to secure a list of double agents before they end up in the wrong hands. Those hands being dudes with guns and bad haircuts. Oh, and also this is all happening the week the Berlin Wall is supposed to come down. There's a lot going on with this movie, but I guess we should start with the star of our show, Lorraine Broughton. This may be my favorite Charlize Theron performance. This or North Country. Very underrated movie, by the way. Go watch it. Anyway, she's always good. She's good in everything. But she is really having fun in this one. In other movies, she takes herself so seriously as the badass lady, but in this, she gets to be tough and courageous while still being just as funny and tongue-in-cheek as a John McClane or a James Bond.
I think I fucking love you.
That's too bad.
The story for this movie is pretty good, at least for the most part. It doesn't move at breakneck speed or anything, but it is interesting and everyone has a clear motivation. There are just a few too many plot twists toward the end. McAvoy being the bad guy I kind of saw coming a mile away, but toward the end when it turns out that Lorraine was actually Satchel, it gets a little confusing. It's like, wait, who's the bad guy? I did like the reveal that she was a CIA agent all along.
Oh my god, I can't believe it!
But the twist of her being Satchel felt kinda dumb. In fact, the majority of the Satchel storyline just seems unnecessary. On the whole, the script is above average. It tries to do a little too much at times, but the dialogue is damn good, and the plot is suspenseful and intriguing.
How well do you know James Gascoigne?
Enough to say hello.
He's dead.
The look. This movie looks spectacular. It's definitely the highlight of this film. The composition is incredible, and there are so many little camera movements that enhance the action or comedy at any given scene.
Let me help you with your bags. Welcome to Berlin.
Fuck's sake.
I mentioned earlier that Charlize gets to be female James Bond in this flick, and that includes getting her own disposable femme fatale, played by the wonderful Sofia Boutella. Not to sound like a prude, but I'm not a fan of sex scenes in movies. I feel like after a few frames, it's like, we get it. They fucked. But this is actually shot really interestingly, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. In fact, it lasts just long enough to get a good joke.
So you made contact with the French operative?
Obviously.
The pacing is a little odd, but it doesn't ruin the movie or anything. I wouldn't even necessarily say the pacing is bad. It's just slow. I gotta admit this is probably a turn on for me specifically because I'm super into old noir films. And those movies, like this one, have a lot of scenes where the main character is just kind of walking around and talking to people or think about shit. I admit, it is weird pacing for an action movie, but I guess I just viewed it as a neo-noir film with dope action sequences. And you can't spell neo-noir without neon. Or wait, you can't spell neon without action. David obviously built his reputation making movies like The Matrix and John Wick, but the fight choreography in this film is more thoughtful. In a lot of movies, especially The Matrix, you'll see a guy just beating the shit out of a room full of goons, even though if they were punching that many people in the face that often, they would probably break like every bone in their hand. Also, considering it's Charlize Theron we're talking about, it'd be even less believable because I mean, she's a tiny, tiny person. They take her size into consideration when putting these fight scenes together, and they absolutely should. Lorraine isn't One Punch Man. No fight in this movie feels easy. Lorraine is constantly using leverage, objects, her environment, her feet, even her elbows to take down enemies. Kind of reminds me of old Jackie Chan movies in that way, except just like a little less funny. One of my favorite fights is when Lorraine fights that guy from the episode of Barry. You know the episode I'm talking about. Anyway, this scene is shot and edited to make it look like it's one shot. It's obviously not, but it helps keep the momentum of the fight going, and more importantly, it doesn't have a bunch of cuts that make it hard to see what's going on. You can see every punch and kick and stab land, and you can also see that Charlize is doing all of it. They don't cut away and sneak to a stunt performer. I get why filmmakers don't do this all the time. It's fucking hard, but it does make fight scenes look so much better.
It's an impressive set of skills.
Talents can be overrated.
You guys know how much I love good music in a movie. You probably also know how much modern pop songs and movies kind of get on my nerves. But I do make an exception to period pieces. All these songs are from the era the movie is set in, and it just helps build the world and the vibe of the movie. The 80s had a lot of faces, and the music tells you which 80s you're gonna be spending the next 2 hours in. The music is beautifully haunting, gothic, operatic, and fun as shit. It's like dancing in a field of Tim Burton's hair. I didn't know that I wanted to see Charlize Theron crush a dude's windpipe while listening to George Michael's father figure, but I'll be damned if that's not one of my favorite scenes in this whole flick. I really hope we get to see Lorraine kick some buns in another Atomic Blonde flick. This movie checks a lot of boxes for me, and even though it's probably more likely that we'll get a sequel to The Old Guard before we get another one of these, Atomic Blonde exceeded my every expectation and kicked John Wick 2's ass. In the nuts. My ranking, I loved it. Give me a John Wick Lorraine Broughton team-up movie. I mean, why not, dude? Let's go. Alright, that's it for this review. If there are any other movies or TV shows you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments. Stay safe, my little double agents, and may the force be with you.